Good morning and afternoon, Power Hitters, Solar Warrior Tribe. Today is Tuesday, September 27th, 2022. My name is Jarrett McAllister, your mentor and co-host, alongside my brothers from other mothers, Jonathan Brunasso and Tom Cotter. What's up, gents? How are we?
Coffee is for closers. Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Excited for training. Tom, why don't you kick us off with that quote? What do you got for us today?
Well, I want to talk about the IRA. Anyone know what the IRA is? August 16th. Anyone have any clue?
Irish Republican Army?
Owen should know.
No, Mr. Guinness.
Inflation
Reduction Act. Over the next 10 years, the IRA is going to lead to 69% more solar deployment than without it in the US. And if you look at, if you want to grab this, you can go onto my Facebook page, but I posted this morning that, we like jobs, right? Every politician, when they're up for election, talks about jobs in their district or country. So over the next decade, the solar industry employment will more than double from 255,000 to 538,000. Solar manufacturing jobs will swell to over 100,000. And so there is good times ahead for us in solar. So if you are new to the solar industry and or new to power, know that you are in the right industry at the right time. And don't sit around and wait to learn more about solar, or wait for interest rates to come back down, or wait for something. Figure out what is the one thing that you can do to build your business. That's the most important thing. And make sure every workday that you do that one thing before anything else. So we have a ton of growth ahead of us. And solar is going to be getting solar clean tech, efficiency, all those things are going to be, at the top of the news stories for many years to come. We have a 30% tax credit that's in place for the next decade. So good times ahead, everyone. So pleased to be on this journey with all of you together.
Yes, sir.
Boom.
Tom.
That was a great quote, Tom. I wrote down the whole thing. Nice job. Really good inspiration leading the way there. And you are absolutely right. So Jarrett, what we got next?
Well, we got some success stories. Like always, going to share some successes. And if you had to overcome a little adversity that led to that success, please share, because it's great to say, hey, I got this sale and I got this right here, but it never comes that easy. So talk to us if you can. Do you have a way that you had to overcome to get that sale so those can learn from that? Anyone have a success story, a little adversity that they overcame?
Hey, I got one. This is Dawn from San Diego.
Hey, Dawn.
Hey, Dawn.
Hey, so I happen to be working out in my garden, and a guy came by that was trying to sell me paint for my house that just got painted, and we were chatting it up, and of course I was like, oh, let me take this opportunity to talk about solar. So I guess he used to sell solar. I gave him my card, and that night he signed up as an ambassador for me, and already referred his daughter. So yeah, just talk about solar every opportunity, and there you go. I got an ambassador, and hopefully his daughter, and more to come. So he's pretty excited about it. So it was good.
Awesome, Dawn. Great job. Thank you for sharing that. And I love what you just said. Take every opportunity to talk about solar. I talked about this in the last training we did. It's like, it really needs to be incorporated into your lexicon. Like if you're having trouble generating leads, that just means you're not talking about it enough. Literally, when I started, every single person I talked to, I mentioned solar to and offering a free quote. And if you're that tenacious and always bringing it up, the guy coming by to sell you paint, you flipped it, turned it into an ambassador, now have a lead. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that, Don. All right. We got, I think Bati was next. Go ahead, Bati.
All right, can you hear me? Yes, I have
little story about some adversity. So I'm currently a tier 2 seller. I was trying to do a deal. I had a referral, and I was trying to do the deal myself, and I was having a little trouble. It was a roof and solar. And so by me having a little trouble, I reached out to a mentor at the time, Miss Marissa Fletcher, and she was able to kind of step in and get everything back in order for me. So today we'll be doing sending over the DocuSigns and completing that deal today. And so thank you for her. And then also in another story, I have a jumper business. And so this weekend somebody reached out to me off of Yelp, and they actually reached out. So I went and set up the jumper for their kids' party for this weekend. When I went and did, I made sure I did a good, thorough job with that. Once I did, I realized that the customer had solar and they had a charge station outside their house. So I instantly, let them know that I do I do work in my spare time as a solar consultant. And I was able to send him some information. And he happened to be a real estate agent. So I was able to share Miss Marissa Fletcher's information with him. And he was able to check out an 8-minute video. And hopefully I'll be inviting him on the call soon.
Nice.
Great job. Great job. And how long have you been on the platform?
I've been on the platform for about a little over a year and a half right now. I think I've currently did maybe close to helped about close to 7 or 8 families. And so, I just, constantly, working, like I said, in my spare time with this.
There you go. Hey, man, there's nothing wrong. You could be on here 3 months, be on here a year. I got people who've been doing this for a couple of years. They still use a mentor. So the more that you can work with the mentor, yeah, sure, it's a split, but you're learning every single time and your close ratio goes way up. So just, something to share out of that. But great job with that. Great job, Marissa, coming in there, knocking that one out. Anthony, what you got for us, bro?
Hey, Jared, good morning. This is Anthony Bonilla, you guys. I've been with Powur for 2.5 years already, but when I first started, I took Jonathan Brunasso's advice, and which leads to my success this past week, or my win. He always told me just post on Instagram, post on Facebook, just with the just a picture with the polo, a hat, a design, install, whatever it is, just post. And recently, I just onboarded a solar pro, George Ramos from Illinois. He's a bilingual consultant, and he's onboarding his team just by posting. He reached out to me saying, I'm interested in Powur. I guess he reached out to a few consultants, but I'm the first one who replied back and walked them through the entire platform. So my advice to everybody, especially if you're new, even if you've been with Powur for a while, just keep posting on social media. People are watching you. And I'd just like to give a shout out to and congratulate Jordan Shaw on his anniversary with Powur. We first met Jordan Shaw last year, September 24th. So it's been a year since he's been with the Powur platform. So congrats to you and all your success, man. Very humble consultant. Gave Jonathan Brunasso a run for his money, but so just want to congratulate Jordan Shaw.
Right on, man. Yeah, Jordan is a gift to this platform, man. Like you said, humble warrior and kicking some butt. I can't believe it's only been a year. It seems like it's been longer with Jordan, but hey, great job, Anthony, on all of that. We're going to do 3 more. We're going to do Owen, then we're going to do George. Skylar's at the end. Let's knock that one out. Owen, what you got for us, brother? IRA agent.
Hey, it's just naturally, if I hear that, I think of things that happened back in Ireland. Anyway, I just sell it along, just kind of typical, as you all know, when you get busier, you think about just making deals and not a big deal on the next one. But I did sell a deal last week, 127 solar panels, and that was all over the phone. So in addition to that, it's a state I've never been to. I'm in California. It was in Pennsylvania. Guy was cool with it. Sold it right there, cash deal. So pretty excited. Anyone who sells a big job, I fed his expectations properly. And that's an important thing too, to let him know there might be some additional things that come up with this job. It might take a while, but I was pretty juiced about that job. That's
Great
it.
job. Yeah, We saw that, man. That was a monstrosity of a solar project, man. Great job with that on.
Only 50% offset as well, which is crazy.
I know. I was like, what are they growing in there? But that wasn't the case.
Wow. If it is, I don't care. Do whatever the hell
Yeah,
you want
no.
to do inside the house.
Right on, man. Great job. All right, George and then Skylar. Go ahead, George. You're muted, brother. George, you got to get off mute. Press the little mute button, bottom left-hand corner.
There you go.
Got it. What's up, home team? I just want to let you know I'm brand new to the team, to the system and everything, but I've learned so much by watching and paying attention and studying. I actually been on the team maybe less than 6 months. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. So I'm out here in the island by myself, but I'm working it, doing everything I need to do. I met Jonathan. I met basically everyone in Dallas and had that association, had that get together with them. But I had one sale. I'm here in Atlanta, but I had a sale actually down in Florida. Jonathan, I had met Jonathan here online, and he introduced me to Michael out of Florida, and he was my mentor, and he shut that down. So I'm here just trying to learn the system. I just want to thank you for just sharing this information. I'm trying to figure the system out, how to actually sell from Atlanta to other states too. So I know it's a work in process, and I understand systems. I'm a military veteran too, so I understand the process. So I just want to thank everybody, and let's keep up the great work. Thanks.
Right on, George. Good to see you part of the platform, man, and just keep pushing it. Keep sticking around. Success leaves clues.
Yes.
So absolutely. All right, Skylar Frey, you're going to be the last one for the day. And man, that's like a name out of like Game of Thrones, Sir Skylar Frey or something like that. What's up, brother? How are you?
Hey, I'll take it. Great show. Same with the House of the Dragons. How's everybody doing? So yeah, I've been part of the platform since about the end of January. Made my first sale really quickly. Chose to move out to Colorado, just a life decision in March. And obviously from Florida, actually, and my network obviously got smaller. Joined a BNI and had struggled networking, not afraid to talk about solar, and had struggles with booking the appointments, was able to find a lot of leads. And within the last couple of weeks, I've made my second sale. I've signed up 2 sellers under me, and then I have 3 appointments this week. 2 are a follow-up. So I would just say to people who are new or who are struggling or frustrated, just stay persistent and stay with it. Absolutely join a BNI if you can. And just keep pushing. Don't, it all come full circle as long as you put in the work.
Love that, bro. Right on, man. And I love that message. Just keep pushing. And another BNI success story. Who started that whole BNI training here, Jonathan?
I don't know. I've heard it's pretty good.
I heard it was as well. Well,
all right.
Right on. Thank you, everybody, for sharing those success stories. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you, Jarrett. I got 2 things real quick, and let's hand it right off to a great training. Congrats month to date so far for September. We got personal sales here. Paul Leon, one of our great ones. Joel in Florida, Jordan and Ubaldo on the team here, and so many other people. Shout out to Chris, my twin, on the recruiting referral side, Larry McKinney, and we got mentors in the house, David Perez on the team, Luis Perez. We all know Wally, JC Rangel, Mike under Kiara, Cynthia, kicking butt here, helping people. I absolutely love it. A few quick announcements. Today, obviously, we have an amazing training with some execs that I'm excited to introduce here. And then every Thursday, if you're new, go to powurcalendar.com and take an onboarding. Power On, there's 2 every single Thursday. And then this Saturday, JC Rangel and I are hosting in Downey in person, 9 to 3, a solar skills technical training. No sales, no fluff, no recruiting, just solar skills, azimuth, batteries, roofing, solo proposal, adder training, really, really good solar training. We'll be on Zoom as well. If you're in Downey, reach out to JC Rangel, where we only can allow 40 to 50 people. and Solar Edge will be paying for our lunch on Saturday. Every Monday, 9 a.m. Pacific, connect with JC. JC Rangel has a great training with a lot of leaders on here like Anthony Bonilla. Every Monday, the company does a power hour, a business presentation that you get to build into, invite into, and attend as well. 8 Eastern, 5 Pacific. Next Tuesday, on every Tuesday, Melissa Dawson does an enterprise training that I was just on this morning, 9 Pacific. Next week, we have Solar Edge giving us training on their inverters and optimizers, teaching us about their technology. And I believe next Wednesday, October 5th, if you want to mark the calendar, we are doing a master class CEO call. And I believe they should be announcing the contest winners as well. And then we have Career Week at Powur coming up October 24th for Solar Pros, 25th for roofing, 26th for real estate. Guys, the marketing team is designing assets and making new videos, success stories for these specific career presentations. So they will be, I believe, from headquarters, but on Zoom as well. And we want to invite into each of these demographics to build the business even more. This is going to be really fun. Career Week for Powur. All righty, without further ado, today we get to welcome some real people that are behind the scenes, you know, keeping up with the explosive, limitless growth here at Powur. Been lucky enough to meet one or two of them. And they have the ball as far as intake, processing, welcome, and email, a touch point. They have a vision for where we're taking this that is really revolutionary. And I know Dan has ran customer service teams with tens of thousands of people nationwide. So I don't think we have anyone better at the helm. So with that, Dan, Dawn, Catherine, Bianca, super welcome. Glad you guys are here. Dan, I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you having us today to spend a little time with you. We'll go over some data points and ultimately have some Q&A at the end for folks that have some questions. With me today, as you pointed out, I've got Don Lumen. He's over our project intake and welcome call team. And then Bianca Swan, who's over our sales support and frontline customer success teams. And then Catherine as well as the supervisor over project intake and welcome call. Wanted them to be here just so that they could be part of any question and answer session that we may have and give the opportunity to introduce them to this team. I know part of what you had asked for, Jonathan, is an escalation path in the email that you sent last night. We'll work on developing that and getting out. Maybe this week. It will depend upon what this wonderful storm does to us here in Florida. Me, Don, and quite a few others on my team are actually in the direct path, so we will be preparing the rest of the day to try to figure out how to hunker down. But we'll get that escalation path out. I guess my one ask there, in any time that we put an escalation path out, is that it's used appropriately. For example, Kevin put the communications escalations email box out a couple of weeks ago at Masterclass. And the majority of the stuff that comes in that email box probably isn't relative and or have waited the appropriate timeline before escalating. So there are SLAs to everything. If an SLA hasn't passed, please don't escalate it. It needs to follow the proper process. And then we'll give you the names to the different suits and managers over those groups so that we can work to engage with you and solve any problems that you're having from a support perspective. Don, I don't know, Don, Bianca, Catherine, just a quick hey, so your faces can pop up with your names on the screen.
Sure. Hey guys, I'm Don Lumen. I'm over, as Dan mentioned, the welcome call and intake team. See a lot of names here, so I think I've at least emailed with several of you before. So yeah, happy to be a part of it. Thanks for the invite, guys.
Go next. I'm Bianca over the customer care success team as well as sales support. See a couple of names here I've worked with as well. Great to be here also.
Hey guys, Catherine here, supervisor over here in the welcome call and intake process. I think I've spoken to many of you as well.
All right, well, that's the team that we have here today. Those are people part of your escalation path. We'll get that out to you so you have it in some type of formal email format that shows who you can escalate to what. Wanted to put some names and faces together for this group. I know we've worked with several of you through email or tickets already. We'll continue to do so as needed from a support perspective. I wanted to share a few data points with you today based on some conversations Jonathan and I have had. Let me share.
Dan, where is your accent from? I couldn't tell when I met you.
Originally born in Savannah, Georgia, and have lived kind of all over the world. Are y'all seeing this presentation? I guess I should ask.
Looks good, Dan.
Okay, I'm going to close out all this other stuff. And then let's go to slideshow. Everybody still see? Good to go. All right, so we'll cover some data points just to kind of show you how we've progressed over the past few months. We'll show you how we've progressed over the past couple of weeks. I know that we have launched a new tool in Zendesk to help us from a support perspective. And with this launch, it gives us more visibility into the data and performance of the team than we've ever had before. And with that data and visibility comes the ability to coach, develop, and obviously build world-class performance out of the team. So we're excited to have that, but wanted to show again some of the progression. We'll then go through some of the data from a welcome call and project intake perspective. I'll put a flow chart together to help explain that process as well, and some timelines associated with each one of those steps, and then kind of a highlight slide at the end. What I would just say as we start, right, is again, we are working hard to build a world-class support organization for you as sellers and our homeowners, our mutual homeowners or customers. It takes time and a lot of change in order to do that. And we appreciate your patience as we work through these changes, as we work through these new implementations, but just know that we are focused on building a world-class support organization and really taking this thing to the next level. A couple of key focus items as we go through this presentation. The volume increase into a rapidly growing team you'll see has been tremendous. The data specifically shows over the last month, right, things are improving considerably, and over the last couple of weeks, even more so as we've kind of narrowed down and really refined the implementation from Zendesk and some of the other tools we put out from a support perspective. And then lastly, if the projects are clean or built right, as they come in, those things flow fast. You won't have to ask questions about where is my project, because they'll flow right through and be very timely from a processing perspective if everything is done from a contract sign, loan document sign, and proposals, all of those things put together correctly as they flow into the team. And then we're working hard to create new processes to hopefully improve things from experience, whether it's the seller experience or the homeowner experience. With those changes, we will always welcome feedback. I know Jonathan and Chris have already provided feedback on several changes. Look, we put this stuff out knowing that it's never going to be 100% right. We're going to be 90% directionally correct, and we'll fix everything else on the fly based on feedback from the people that are actually doing the job every day. So we welcome that feedback and appreciate it. And where we can, we'll make those changes to improve those processes for all of us because we're all in this together. Just a quick snapshot of the team. Again, you see Don, Bianca are the two managers over the respective groups. Joshua Mayer, most of you know that name. He works in executive escalations under me. And then we've got a new reporting analyst and Zendesk analyst, and that's Kundan. He's actually working out of India for us. So he was one of our first international hires overseas, which is really exciting for us, but he's bringing in a lot of data to help us understand the performance of the team. And then you'll see the different layers. You'll see this, I'll give this presentation, Jonathan, to you afterwards, so you can share it with the team. That way they can kind of go through. But the key point here is when I got here a few months ago, 4 months ago, I think now, there was about 16 people on this team to support sellers and homeowners. Today, we're at 60 folks, so you can see the tremendous growth. 75% of our staff is under 90 days. So there's a lot of new people. Again, with new people comes a learning curve. We will have misses or escapes that happen. Those things are expected when you have this kind of ramp of growth. We just ask for your patience. And again, the feedback. Give us the feedback. We'll go coach and develop. We'll change processes where applicable, right? And make things better overall. And by the end of the year, this team will be 80, will be the largest team within the organization outside of the sales organization. From a volume perspective, again, just sharing a couple quick slides. This is our volume from February. We were just over about 6,000 inbound contacts. This is just inbound, not the secondary, third, or fourth touches that it takes to solve an issue or a ticket that comes in. But you'll see we went from about 6,000 in February, and we are on track for 22,000 in the month of September. That's tremendous volume growth, and you wonder why sometimes things go off the rails. You may not get a response. This is a team of 60 today, handling 22,000 contacts. That's amazing that we can do that. And please understand that with that kind of growth, and you see the kind of direct straight up line to the right, things have to change. We have to improve. We have to become more efficient. We have to change processes. We have to work with you all, right, to get these things in place in order to perform better and support you better from a support organization. But I wanted to share this slide because a lot of folks don't get to see just how much volume this team handles on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And again, this is just inbound. And most of these take a secondary, third, or fourth contact to actually bring the full resolution. This is over the last couple of weeks. I just wanted to share this as well. You'll see from a volume perspective, we continue to get higher. But from a first reply time, when we launched Zendesk a few weeks ago, our reply times, regrettably so, were terrible. And we understand that. We worked hard to hire, to change processes, to coach and develop the team. And you'll see over the last couple of weeks in chat, right, our reply times are under a minute. Now, that doesn't mean that that's everybody's experience. There are going to be escapes. There's going to be times in the day we may be busier than others. But overall, from an average of the 4,232 contacts we took in week 24, work week 24, on average, we were under a minute reply time on chat. We were just under 5 hours on email or tickets. Web, I'll share this, that's the outbound contacts from an intake or a welcome call perspective. And then our average speed of answer on the phone was, again, about 4 minutes and 37 seconds to get to that call. So you can see, again, on the overall average for the majority of the interactions that we're having, we've made tremendous progress over the last few weeks. And while this isn't best in class or world class, this is a huge step forward in our overall ability to support and our performance from a team perspective. This is just breaking it down by group. I won't go into too much detail here. You'll get the deck, you'll be able to see it, but just to kind of show you by group, again, if you look at the first reply times, you'll see there's still opportunity. I wanted to be transparent on this call. In particular, if you look at the Spanish support line for sales and customer service, the response times on email and tickets there, while still under 24 hours, we need to work on those. We're doing a focused hiring now. I think we've got 10 or 15 left to go, and a good portion of those will be West Coast, and they'll be bilingual so that we'll have the ability to do a better job there. And again, first reply times are really good across the board. Spanish support from a sales perspective in the chat takes a little bit longer for us to get to because we only have a limited number of heads there. But I wanted to share this as well so you can see by group, not just by the overall stats, how we're performing and how we progress week over week to improve. All right, let's get to the meat of project intake and welcome call. Can everybody see this? I tried to make it as big as I possibly could. Lucid charts are a little funny. Again, I'll send this out. You'll be able to zoom in later on and figure out exactly the path. But what this says is, at the top, as a seller creates the sale and they input all the information into Solo and the Mosaic, wherever you're getting the loan docs from, the proposals created, and those docs flow into our admin team. That admin team performs a checklist to make sure that all of those docs are there and all of the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted. That process, on average, takes about 3 hours for the admin team to run that automated back-end check in the checklist that says, hey, is all of this here? And if it's all here, does everything match? And if it does, great. And you'll see from there, I broke the flow down. Today, over the last several months, about 60% of the projects that come in are what we would consider clean projects with no need to have an additional look or any corrections made with the seller or approvals from a roofing perspective. And about 40% of those projects actually need to have additional work done or questions to the seller or something changed within the overall process or documentation. That's a high amount. It's gotten better over the last couple of weeks, but when folks wonder why, on average, a project is stuck or is taking longer or they haven't reached M1 when they wanted to, it's because 40% of the projects that come in have something that has to be addressed from an intake perspective. And we've got to then go work with the seller to get those items corrected or added or updated. And those steps take time. We'll go through that time here in a second. So we'll start on the left-hand side of the chart that says, okay, 40% of the projects that come in need some type of updates. Those projects flow into our project intake team. And project intake then works to correct whatever issues were flagged by the admin team that need correcting. Those queues are worked every day. So if a project hits project intake, we work to clear those every day, or at least, let me go back. We work to address those every day or clear that queue. If it comes in at 7 o'clock at night, we can't clear it. We clear it the next morning. But ultimately, we'll touch the majority of those every day and start the process of clearing those. So you won't have anything that gets to project intake today that doesn't get touched for 2 days. We will look at it, we will determine what needs to happen, and we will have that initial outreach. And what you'll see here, I put 2 call outs. Project intake works to have the initial review the same day as I just called out. And once a project hits project intake, we clear about 81% of those within 24 hours. And then you've got about 19% outside of that that flow to a longer period of time, and there's a varying days. But that 19% is really relative to us being able to connect with the seller and get that information updated, changed, or added to the docs in OS. So if you stay on that path, 3 hours for the admin team to do the checklist. It comes to project intake that day. We work to clear it. Again, within the first 24 hours, we're clearing about 81% of those. 19% takes a little bit longer. And then we will make 3 attempts over 14 days to contact the seller to make those changes. And if we are successful, we'll make the changes with the seller. We'll then set the project to active and it flows downstream to project acknowledgement / welcome call. If we don't get a hold of the seller and we can't make those changes, that project gets canceled and the seller gets notified. And I know that sounds a little bit harsh and a change from where we may have been in the past, but the reality is we can't have the team continuously following up forever and focusing time, resources, and money on projects that may never move downstream from this initial step. And we put that in place, you'll see on the other side of the sheet as well. And again, that's just an attempt to have us efficient in utilizing our resources on the projects that really are going to bear fruit for all of us, if that's the best way to put it. So again, 3 times over 14 days, we'll reach out at day 14. If we haven't reached the seller or made the needed corrections, the project gets canceled. At any point in time, if we make those, again, we're clearing about 81% of those within 24 hours. Once that project gets cleared, you'll see it then flows to the right side of the screen into welcome call or project acknowledgement. trying to get everybody to start to think about project acknowledgement versus welcome call. Today, I'll explain real quick for those of you that don't understand, we really do Mosaic as a call because we're required contractually to do Mosaic during our as a call versus email or text. Most every other project outside of Mosaic is handled through project acknowledgement email and a secondary text notification out to the homeowner. So we will send an email to the homeowner, we'll follow that immediately up with a text, and we'll post a ticket in Powur.com for the seller to let them know what's going on each step of the way. And we are seeing much better success rate, and you'll see that on the slide in a minute. About 60% of the time we're successful in the initial outreach in email and text versus about 25% of the time in welcome call, where we have historically just had welcome calls going out to the homeowner. And then project acknowledgement, again, today is email and text, and this is a short-term solution, so everybody is aware. We will be putting this acknowledgement piece into the Powur app. So a customer will be able to go out, seller sitting there at the table with them, they'll set the app up with the homeowner then goes into their app and acknowledges all of the pieces of the project. Yep, this is how many panels, this is the price, this is the Powur Care warranty that I agreed to. And when they click next, eventually they'll get into scheduling their own site survey. For now, it will flow to us and we'll still do the site survey and be an assignment. But long-term vision is to put all the communication into the app and the homeowner self-service ability there. That's world class, right? That's what we want to be able to do. So when you're at the table, you can walk the customer through all of this and help them every step of the way. And the customer never has to contact anybody or wait. It's all right there at their fingertips. Now we'll have notifications that says, hey, this customer hasn't cleared, and it'll fall into a list and we may eventually have to call or send or text email. But we want everything into the Powur app that we can so that it's self-service from a customer perspective and they can do everything without the need of assistance. So again, if we look at the right side of the screen, we pick the project acknowledgement or welcome call up. We typically are under 48 hours, typically in that 24-hour time frame from the time it hits the queue. And I want to make sure that I'm specific about that because it is from the time it hits the welcome call queue. If a project gets held up because it's going through project intake and clearing one of these issues, or it's on hold for some other reason outside of our control, and it's waiting on something to be cleared, it hasn't hit our queue. I've seen a couple of escalations of recent where salesperson has escalated saying this was 2 weeks later, you're doing a project acknowledgement or welcome call. And unfortunately, that's when it hit the team's queue and we were able to work it. It was held up upstream, whether it was being cleared with something in intake or waiting on some other piece of information from the PM or the seller in order to clear that project, and it hit the project acknowledgement team's queue. So we are picking those up under 48 hours. And again, we're about 60% successful on getting the project acknowledgement email and text done in that initial outreach. We set the project to project start at the time when it hits our queue. We hit project start and we attempt welcome call. The project acknowledgement team handles the email, text, or call, depending upon that one, setting it to start, and then doing either VSS, ODSS, on-demand site survey, so assigning it to a site surveyor, and then the PM and installer assignment, all as part of their process. And similar to what you see on project intake time, we will reach out 3 times over 14 days to the to the homeowner to attempt to gain the acknowledgement from a project acknowledgement perspective. And if we don't get the acknowledgement, then the project would be canceled. And again, every step of the way, we're notifying the seller. So at any point in time, they can assist. Like, hey, we weren't able to get a hold of Jonathan today. Maybe they recognize your number and they'll answer you where they haven't answered us. And we appreciate that assistance. And that's part of the reason that we put that information into Powur.com from a seller perspective. Is sometimes you've got that relationship that we don't, and they may answer a call or an email from you and it's critical that we get this project acknowledgement checkbox, if that's the best way to put it, completed. So it moves downstream and we can get everybody started and paid on time. And maybe the last call out here, we don't gate anything at project acknowledgement today, so it's not a hard stop, other than if we don't get the acknowledgement done at the 14th day, then it will cancel. But if we assign the site surveyor and they go out and do the site survey and we assign the PM, at that time the communication starts, maybe permit starts, a design starts, those things can still flow without project acknowledgement done today. But again, at that 14th day, we haven't got some confirmation from the homeowner the project would be canceled. A couple of quick slides here. Project intake, just week over week, over the last couple of weeks, these are a number of projects processed by IT, and you'll see what I called out earlier. Previous 3 months, we were about 40% of the projects going to project intake. Over the last couple of weeks, we're actually only about 25%. So we've gotten much better. And I really attribute that, in looking at the data, to we had a huge influx of new sellers. In all of those new sellers, we saw increased volume from a sales support perspective. We saw a huge increase in contracts, but we also saw a huge increase in contracts that needed attention. That's starting to die down a little bit. People are becoming more familiar with the system and the sales process and the documentation needed. And we're seeing better results in the percent of those calls or projects, going over to project intake. The main one here on this screen I really wanted to highlight to folks is the one at the bottom, project intake drivers. These are the reasons, the top 7 reasons, that projects go to project intake and need additional assistance, which adds additional time to the process from a project start perspective, and then obviously getting to M1. You'll see roofing adder is the number 1, and that's really just getting the approval from the roofing team and or getting the right quote, making sure we have an approved roofer. Negative savings, again, if a battery is on a solar project, it's going to potentially, most of the time, show a negative savings. We've got to get that signed off on. The easy ones, name mismatch, email mismatch, and language mismatch, are the ones that are really kind of frustrating. And ultimately, we hope to clean up with enhancements coming in the future. We are going to work on ways to, and I don't know if gate's the best way to put it, but ensure the accuracy of these steps during the contract and loan doc creation process, so that they don't have these hiccups or slowdowns as they get into processing from an admin team and into the intake and project acknowledgement team's perspective. But you can see the volumes. That's a lot of volume. These are year to date so far, the number of times that we've had to put a project into project intake because of one of these issues. And there's a long trail of other issues, but I wanted to show you the top 7 so that ultimately you see some of the main drivers that cause a project to be delayed, and attention to detail, and then our ability to automate these areas out of the system will go a long way for improving cycle times and getting these things through to, again, project start and M1 much more quickly. Last slide. Again, over the last 4 weeks, it's only about 25% of the project needed to go to project intake versus the previous 3 months where it's been 40%, so substantial improvement there. We're working on ways to error-proof and automate that. I just mentioned that. The more that we can require fields and ensure that fields match, the better off we're going to be. And not to, everybody makes mistakes, and we want to do our best to help eliminate those mistakes through automation, so that you don't have to focus on all the little things. We can just automate these errors out. If a project is clean and it doesn't need additional support or review, it could be through project start and well on its way within a 48-hour time frame. Obviously, if it's not and it goes into that project intake, we're clearing about 81% in 24 hours, but that's adding another 24 hours to the timeline. If there's something that goes beyond that initial 81% ability to clear, that other 19%, I've seen them run days, if not weeks, in order to get to the seller, get the information corrected, and get it back in for processing and set to active. That's the data point I covered earlier. 61% of the project, 24 hours, additional 20% in the next 24 hours, or 81% in the first 24 hours. Again, the majority of the projects that come in the project intake, we clear within 48 hours. And today, as I pointed out earlier, we handle the majority of project acknowledgement through email and text, except for Mosaic. That's an actual call. We're working on with Mosaic the sign off for them to put theirs in the app as well, because they are also working on an app internally. So they should give us the same ability as well. And that'll make it so much quicker and so much better of a customer experience. And then that call out again at the last is again trying to put everything in the app. And imagine the day when you could sit down at the table, help them sign into the app, go through the Powur project acknowledgement process, help them actually schedule the site survey right there at the table, and it automatically assigns the PM and installer to the project before you even leave the house that day. That's where we want to get to, and will be a much, much better experience from a seller perspective and a homeowner perspective. So I will stop there, and that gives us, Jonathan, like you said, about 10 minutes for question and answers.
Perfect timing, Dan. I appreciate the transparency and the vision and all the detailed information here. And just to reiterate, your team with Don, you know, especially a lot of us have worked with Catherine and Bianca and a few other members of your team. Like, you guys are rock stars. So we truly appreciate all you're doing, and seeing that number go from what, 6 to 22,000. Holy crap.
That's amazing. People don't really get to see that data.
Yeah, and maybe before I go through a few questions, you know, when I met you, you described Chris and I your vision of dominoes, and you said it so eloquently.
Yeah.
And maybe I'll just, if you could have 30, 60 seconds, like, just, you want to get this thing like the dominoes tracker.
I do, and whether it is within the app from a customer perspective so that they can see every step of the way that, hey, I sat down today and I ordered my pizza with the seller, and now I've moved on to they're prepping it in the Powur app, and I'm using project acknowledgement, and then I'm on to delivery, right? And I'm setting up my site survey and my PM and installer assignment. But the opposite is true as well. In Powur.com, from a seller perspective, you need to see that same pizza tracker so that you don't have to call. The number one driver in the sales support from a volume perspective is, where's my project? You shouldn't have to ask that question. And we're working on project visibility with Kevin and team so that you can see that data along with where it's at and what it's waiting on, so that you don't have to ask those types of questions. So not only should a homeowner have that pizza tracker, but the seller should have that as well. So there is no questions about where we are in the process and what's next or needed next.
Right on. Maybe when you're done with customer service, you can go to the O&M department, huh? I'm just kidding. All right. Let's ask one or two questions here in the chat, and then we can maybe let a few people unmute. I know Rick has a few and Tom have a few, but one thing Rick said was sometimes the seller doesn't know what is missing. You know, I had a gal sold job a week or two ago, and it was some electrical miss. So is there a way, if someone doesn't know what the holdup is, like, do they go to the chat and ask there, or do they email sales support?
So they can go to chat and chat at the sales support team. But if something is, and I hate to say wrong, but if something is wrong and it hits project intake, they're going to get an email. We send emails out through Zendesk now from a project intake perspective that says, hey, seller, something is X, like you saw, language mismatch, the contract and the loan doc don't match, or the email doesn't match on these two documents, or hey, you got a roofing estimate in here that isn't a Powur approved roofer, we need X. Typically, we'll give some type of email notification out, and if you're not getting those, then that's a problem. But you can always go to chat and ask those questions, and then they can leverage the internal communication to find out where we're at.
Awesome. I know Owen had a little
Really
feedback.
quick.
Go
Sorry,
for it.
Jonathan. One other thing I want to add to that is we also, anytime we put a project note in our OS system, that is also linked out to powur.com for you guys. You'll see that in the project notes section on powur.com. So I know you guys live in powur.com a lot. Everything from that perspective in our intake team that's a problem is also piped out to powur.com for you guys to see as well.
Okay, great. Yeah, I always say check milestones, check notes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Check all that.
Hey, I saw the repeat question twice, so I'll answer it real quick, Jonathan. Text. Anytime an email goes out, we actually follow it up with a text. So they get both a text and an email. And just so the team is aware, we're also working on implementing WhatsApp into Zendesk as well, because it seems that we have a large bilingual population and a lot of our bilingual customers are using WhatsApp. So we're looking to improve that as well.
Daniel, just to follow up with that, you said you send out a text. So when it comes to the acknowledgement email, they also get the same email, but in text to the homeowner, and they could just reply back with yes, because that would be.
They don't get the same
awesome.
email. They get an overview in a text. We couldn't put the email in a text because it's super long, but it's, and I'll send it to the team. It's just a small blurb that says, hey, we've sent you your Powur project acknowledgement email. Please respond with yes that you've reviewed and agree to that.
Oh, so people are able to just reply yes
Yep.
to the text,
Yep.
and that gets the project moving forward.
Absolutely.
And we would be notified on the back end that that has happened, and that's the case. We're moving on, so we're not having to bug our customers about that.
Correct.
That's great news. Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you.
Yeah, we actually get a lot of replies via text today versus email.
I imagine it's kind of a texting world these days.
Oh yeah.
Tom,
Oh, is there a guarantee? Oh, I'm sorry. Is there a specific phone number that we can give our customers? Because they ask that. They say, hey, what number should I be expecting this call from? You know, people are screening calls these days.
Yeah, so that's a hard thing to answer, and I don't want to go too far down the rabbit hole, but every carrier has to have numbers whitelisted. And today, when we call a customer, unfortunately, based on AT&T or T-Mobile or Verizon, it comes up as spam, and that's why a lot of people don't answer their phone. We're working to get those whitelisted. We're also working to change our carrier. That's why we text. A lot of the times people will respond to text versus a phone call. That's why we change that process, because again, we were at 25% success rate with just a call. Now we're at 60%.
Gotcha.
I'm not sure if
But there is no phone number. There's no phone number that we could call if, you know, suppose somebody's older, they have a landline, you know, sometimes it can be a little bit more difficult.
Just call the 866-GO-POWUR. It'll route to the team.
Yeah, typically what we see there is we have folks call back into 866-GO-POWUR. The customer care group and sales support can Slack anybody who's available on the welcome call team, and they do pick those calls up. Now, the only caveat to that is if they're actively on a call or we don't have somebody who's available at that particular moment, we'll let that customer care agent know, hey, listen, we're tied up. Let the customer know. We'll give them a call back in X minutes. But I see them come through all the time. Hey, I've got a customer on the line. Can somebody pick up a welcome call? Team picks it up really quick and connects with that customer.
on that note, is there any way to get the welcome call like bullet points or scripts to set the proper expectations?
Yeah, we can get that out to the team. Sure.
Yeah.
And would it be possible for us to be able to be proactive, like after the end of, we're closing up the sale, we've done all paperwork, or we could just call in to Powur right there with the customer and knock it out?
We've had some discussions, but the problem is we can't guarantee that you're going to get a hold of somebody, and you could be on hold because the welcome call team isn't an inbound team. Right. We may have some folks that call in and get routed over there, as Don just pointed out, but we don't specifically have them sitting around waiting on people. We had some discussions about building a kind of day of welcome call where you're sitting there as a seller and you could call in and we could do welcome call live. But again, my philosophy here is that's not the best experience. We want to put it in the app. That's where we want to focus our time and resources and development so that we can really build a world-class experience.
Let's go ahead and go to Jamie if you want to unmute. Jamie Kraus.
Thanks, Jonathan. Hey, Daniel, I got a quick question. It's actually happening kind of as we speak. I sold one last week. They've sent multiple emails. We're getting close to the 14-day period. I went in person today, showed him my email and my ticket. He acknowledged it. And so we sent a message to support@powur.zendesk.com. Is that going to qualify him for acknowledging it, even though he hasn't been able? I looked in his spam, I looked in his junk mail, and his text messages.
I would say just send me or Don the customer's name, or if you have a ticket number there from the Zendesk ticket, we'll take a look. Worst case scenario, we just reach out and do a quick call with them, but let me take a look at it.
Yeah, the only question I'd have is that Mosaic, Jamie?
No, it's Good Leap.
Okay, yeah, reach out to one of us.
Sounds like originally it was
knock it out. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
David
I would say that if you're sitting down with a homeowner, set expectations around, hey, if it's Mosaic, you're going to get a call within the next 24 to 48 hours, or hey, you're going to get an email and a text from Powur within the next 24 to 48 hours. So you can set that expectation. And oh, by the way, you can also go in and pick preferred times in Powur.com for a site survey, and we will just use those preferred times. So the customer can already pick their site survey date, basically.
David Perez, go for it.
Okay, thanks, guys. So really quick, I just had a question. So on the utility bill rate, pretty much what we do as consultants is just take the rate right off of the utility bill. I know there's times where like the customer gets like a certain discount, things like that. So we do the best to like, calculate that, but like, what's the correct process? Because that seems to be happening a lot on certain projects where we're getting flagged for like, I guess like our rate being higher than it is, but we're going right off of the utility bill. So like, what is the right way of doing it? Like so that to avoid the project getting held up front.
Yeah, I just saw a note from Jonathan, and he's on point. The percent is 10 cent, not percent. The amount is 10 cent is the amount that you're able to fly with. Now, here's what happens, and what we see a lot is there's some sort of a discount, or the customer on the bill is getting some sort of a discount or a rebate from the utility company. A lot of times that's not being accounted for. That isn't something we can bake into it. We have to go by the true rate that customer has on their utility bill.
So David, you'd want to look at the utility bill, divide the price by the kilowatt hour, and then go to solo proposal and change it to as close as possible. It has to be within 10 cents. You should be fine if that's the case. And I actually greatly appreciate that level of ethics and concern for keeping Powur reps honest too. All right, cool.
Guys, if there's no other questions, I have one other comment I wanted to throw out there, because I know there's some hesitancy with our cancellation. Okay, what that means is we are going to cancel that project in our OS system. That does not mean your deal is dead. Okay, after the fact, you have the ability, if you get what we needed prior, you can open that deal back up for us. Okay, that's not a dead deal. Now, there is a time component to it. You can't come back 6-7 months down the road, but if it's a pretty quick turn, you have the ability to open that project back up in OS as long as you've obtained what we needed for that cancellation. Make sense?
Yes.
All right. Any other questions, Jonathan? I know we're over, but appreciate the time to come talk to the team. We are always willing to come out and do this kind of Q&A session or cover any data that you want. We'll be as transparent as we can, right? The data is what the data is. We're all one team, and we're going to share it, and we're going to talk through any challenges that we have. We're here to support you as best we can, and we're doing everything we can to improve and, again, build a world-class support organization.
Absolutely. I think we're good. We're at the top of the hour, guys. We have a lot of events and trainings coming up. I just want to say a huge thank you to Dan and your team, Don, Bianca, Catherine, all the rock stars here.
Thank you.
The transparency is amazing. We all appreciate you. So feel free to say thank you and goodbye, everyone. And thank you so much, Dan and Don and team.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.
I guys.
Reach out if you ever need anything.
Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Bye, everyone.
Great, thank you.
Thanks
All
all.
right, take
Thank you.